Welcome to Knicks Home Court with your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. This is episode number 41. And this is a special edition Knicks Home Court because it's not really about the Knicks this time. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to let you know early on. I'm going to be talking about the Blockbuster trade that went down today. And I figured I had a few things to say on it. I've tried to figure out how it may be related to the Knicks, but mainly this is going to be talking about the Blockbuster trade and a little bit on Danny Ainge. So, let me get right to it. In case you haven't heard already, the Boston Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers have made a trade. Boston gets Kyrie Irving, and the Cavs get Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Ante Zizic, Brooklyn's first-round pick unprotected. Sorry about the noise again. And the Celtics have a strong belief that Kyrie will re-sign with them. Kyrie is a younger player. I think he's about 24. Isaiah is 27 years old and also all of 5'7". Thought I got away from the noise. All right. So my first thoughts on this is I feel like Boston gave up too much for a player who wanted out in the first place. I'm just going to go on record, say it first. I think Boston gave up too much. Look, I'm going to be honest. I like Kyrie, but I'm not really high on Kyrie. I think he's an elite offensive player. I think that, I don't know if he's a fully, some people say he's won a championship. He's a great player. He's an offensive player. And I don't know. I mean, I know he's a poor defender, and he's a great offensive player. So I just don't see him as a franchise guy. Just like I didn't see Isaiah Thomas as a franchise guy, but 1-for-1 and maybe Jay Crowder should have been enough. Like Isaiah Thomas plus Jay Crowder for Kyrie Irving, I think should have been enough. So you gave up a pick, a top pick, not even just your pick, but just like a top pick, Brooklyn's pick, which could possibly be the number one pick. I don't think it will. I think Brooklyn will be a little better this year. But still, So I want to just revisit the genius called Danny Ainge that everybody thinks he's such a genius. So let's revisit. I'm sorry, I'm tipping my hand by saying everybody thinks he's a genius. Must mean I don't think he's a genius. I think he's a good GM. I mean, you can't argue with the results. He has a championship under his belt. But let's look at this. So he traded for Kevin Garnett, traded for Ray Allen, and he already had Paul Pierce. Now, some people say that was a gift. That was a gift given to him by Kevin McHale. That's how he pulled that off. Okay. I'm of that belief that this was a win-win for Kevin McHale to give KG a chance to win and also to help his friend. So I do kind of agree with that conspiracy theory. As far as trading for Ray Allen, I think he gave up. Wasn't Joe Johnson in that trade? I'm not really sure. I'm not going to revisit it. I didn't look it up. I'm just doing this on the fly. So, but again, that team is not great without KG. So if you get Ray Allen, it doesn't matter. That team is not great without KG. So then, after they win for 3 years and win one championship, 1 out of the 3, after that, Brooklyn Nets decided, let's trade for the guys who could not win any longer, and we're going to win with them because we're the Brooklyn Nets. We're going to add those 3 great players. Well, actually, I'm sorry. It was 2 of them, Paul Pierce and KG. Let's add them to Joe Johnson, and let's win. But the thing is, KG and Paul Pierce thought they were going to be support players, not main players, because remember, they had Darren Williams at the time, his career just didn't go the way I thought it would. So anyway, they gave up a whole bunch for them. It reminds me of the time when 2 trades I remember in the NFL. when basically the Saints gave up everything for Ricky Williams, dumbest shit ever. And the second dumbest move, which built the dynasty, is when the Dallas Cowboys made a trade. They traded Herschel Walker and got a whole bunch of picks for him. And that's how they made their dynasty, back with Michael Irving and Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith. So the Brooklyn Nets did something similar. They gave up a bunch of picks, thinking we're going to be good for the next 7 years. And that's the arrogance. I think the owner pushed that, but I don't know. We'll see. So now Danny Ainge has all of these riches. He has all of these things at his disposal. He could have drafted Fultz. I don't blame him for trading or doing any of those things. He could have done a lot of things. He could have traded for Butler, possibly traded for Paul George. Because what I'm saying is the package that he gave up, I think that he could have gotten maybe Butler or Paul George for that package. I'm just guessing. I'm thinking, possibly. So it's hypothetical, but I feel like he needed to pull the trigger. He probably felt like he needed to pull the trigger. And when I really look at it, I would have preferred him to make a trade for Butler, if that was possible. Trade for Butler. If you needed to trade Isaiah Thomas to the Chicago Bulls, if they would have done it, and the same amount of people you gave up, Jay Crowder, first round pick, all of that for Jimmy Butler. Now some people will say, "Oh, that's a lot." Yeah, it is a lot. But sometimes you got to give up a lot to get the deal done. And I thought I wasn't going to talk about the Knicks, but people criticized the Tim Hardaway signing, saying that the Knicks paid too much, but you have to sometimes pay more than enough to ensure that you're going to get your target, period. So, with that being said, they could have given all of that up, possibly, again, hypothetically, for Butler, sign Haywood, draft Markelle Fultz. And they got Morris, one of the Morris twins, he's a good player. Now, their starting five could have been Markelle Fultz, Jimmy Butler, Gordon Hayward, Morris twin, and Horford, Al Horford. That could have been their starting five, with the young Brown coming off the bench, who is getting better. Marcus Smart coming off the bench. They lost Avery Bradley as well. And they also have the other point guard coming off the bench. They would have had, to me, I think those pieces fit better than adding a point guard to a team that's point guard strong and really don't have a shooting guard. They don't have a shooting guard. If you think Jaylen Brown's a shooting guard, he's not a shooting guard. Jaylen Brown's not a shooting guard. Hayward's not a shooting guard. Tatum's not a shooting guard. They're all small forwards. Don't get me wrong, you need wings. But to me, they're more of, sometimes you have the small forwards like, say, DeMar DeRozan, who's a shooting guard / small forward. He can't play power forward. What Boston has is small forwards / power forwards. In the small ball lineup, most of their small forwards can play power forward. You might be able to get Jaylen Brown to slide over to the shooting guard. Being that shooting guard is not one of the strongest positions in the NBA at this point, so I get it. But does this make them that much better? They gave up a player who averaged 28 points a game for a player who averaged 25 points a game, who's really good, don't get me wrong. They gave up a player who didn't really play much defense to another player who doesn't really play much defense. Mind you, he's about 5 inches taller, 7 inches taller, something like that. He's taller. He's a lot taller than Isaiah Thomas. I feel like it's a sideways move, and what you gave up for a sideways move was a little too much to me. You gave up a pick. This is another thing about Crowder. Trading Crowder doesn't really upset me that much, because for the simple fact is you gave up Crowder when you knew he had to go. Crowder was the odd man out. He was the odd man out. They got Hayward, they got Brown, they got Tatum. There was no way they can keep Crowder, even though he's a veteran. So So when I'm looking at it, like I said, they got Kyrie, they got their man. But he waited all this time to pull the trigger on this. I just think he played himself, in my opinion. I just don't think he got... Now, let me look at Cleveland's side of the ball. I think Cleveland did very well because Isaiah Thomas is a lethal three-point shooter as well as Kyrie. But the thing is, Isaiah Thomas, I believe, is a better off-ball offensive player. Like, he can play off the ball. He does not have to have the ball in his hands all the time. LeBron can have the ball. Isaiah can still attack whenever need be, but he doesn't need to dance for 15 minutes to put up a shot. He doesn't need to do that. And Jay Crowder makes them better defensively. He's a decent three-point shooter. To me, Jay Crowder might be a replacement for Shumpert. Could be. Even though one plays a 3, another plays a 2, Then you got to think that they might be getting a top pick next year. This move possibly might keep LeBron in Cleveland. It might keep LeBron in Cleveland. In a small ball lineup, you might be able to put Crowder at the 4. I'm talking about an extremely small ball lineup. So now I'm gonna bring it around to the Knicks. Where does this lead the Knicks? If Carmelo decides, you know what, Cleveland looks like a nice place to go. If he says this, what can they give up for the Knicks? Now they got Jay Crowder, somebody the Knicks would like, I'm sure. They have a pick, somebody the Knicks would like, I'm sure. But remember, the salaries have to match. So we would, if we want Brooklyn's pick, and if Melo agreed to go with Cleveland, we're going to have to take back some garbage. We're going to have to take back Shumpert's contract, probably maybe J.R. Smith or whoever bums they have that they don't really play, but they're paying high. Those are the players we're going to have to take back. Possibly Kevin Love, who I want no part of. Tristan Thompson, I don't think they're going to give him up. So I don't know if it'll happen, but I got something. I wanted to say this real quick. Dwayne Wade, he might get bought out by the Chicago Bulls. And you know what? He might be what might swing wherever. If he goes to Boston or he goes to Cleveland, it might swing everything. And nobody ain't say it. You heard it first on Knicks home court. If he goes to Boston, boom. Yeah, I know he's an older guy. I know he's not young. But last year in the playoffs, he averaged 19 to 20 points a game. You don't need Dwayne Wade to be the Dwayne Wade of old if you're adding him to a team full of really good players. So if you put Dwayne Wade on Boston, oh man, it's a good fit. I don't think it's a great fit because, again, Dwayne Wade is not a knockdown shooter. But he's still a really good player. So then if you can have Kyrie Irving, Dwayne Wade, Gordon Hayward, Morris, Horford, Tatum, Brown, off the bench, Marcus Smart, that's a tough team. Because, yeah, I get it. Dwayne Wade is not a great shooter from the three-point line, but I'm talking about the amount of toughness and playoff experience and championship experience that he adds to a team. Come on. Or he can go to Chicago. He can go to Cleveland, who Cleveland I do think is going to still come out the East. If he goes to Cleveland, now you're talking about possibly having a chance against Golden State. Because you'll have Isaiah Thomas, you have Dwayne Wade, you have LeBron James, of course, Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson. Now, the whole point of Cleveland getting Dwayne Wade, if they get him, is when LeBron is on the bench. That's all Cleveland needs to do is figure out how do we continue to be good when LeBron's on the bench. They lost that championship basically because when LeBron goes to the bench, that team sucks. Kyrie had everybody at his disposal, and when LeBron went to the bench, the team sucked. They didn't even win in all the games that LeBron missed. So I hope Kyrie's ready for a lot of ball movement and body movement, because if you look at the Celtics, they're not a ball dominant team. He's a ball dominant player. He's gonna have to adjust. To me, it feels a little bit like Melo to the Knicks, and I'm not saying it like I didn't love Melo coming to the Knicks. I did, but is he the type of player that can blend in with the rest of the players on the team, or he's gonna play? I don't know. Is he gonna pound the ball when things get, when it's crunch time? He's going to dribble for 15 seconds out the clock and take a shot? I mean, I don't know. Is he going to be able to play team ball? Now, that team is set up to win, so I just think Cleveland won this trade, and it bugs me out how I feel like Danny Ainge overplayed his hand. He overplayed his hand. He really wanted Paul George. He could have got Paul George. You want Paul? Look, that's the guy I really feel like they should have moved heaven and earth for. Paul George he's a lot better than Gordon Hayward. But you know why they went after Gordon Hayward. Let's be real. You know why they went after Gordon Hayward. Come on. Let's not. It's a reason why Utah always has a white star, or a white-like star, if you know what I mean. Look at the Utah college team. Look at, now I'm going to switch it over to Boston. You know why they wanted Gordon Hayward. He's a good player, yes, but you know why they wanted him. Come on. Because I believe that they could have put all their resources into getting Paul George. And Paul George can play the two in a pinch. Paul George is lethal. They let that get away. They want, we're not going to give up this. We're not going to give up that. And you give all this up for Kyrie, who might leave you in 2 years. I really believe he's going to leave in 2 years. I don't think he wants to be in Boston. I think he just really wanted to be out of Cleveland. We'll see, though. But one thing that's really rare is you've never seen two teams who are literally competing against each other trade star players, like flip-flop star players. I've never heard of this. Maybe somebody else has an example, but I've never heard of this kind of flip-flopping of star players to each other's team. I've just never heard that before. This is some weird stuff. The NBA is weird nowadays, and it's still going. A lot of stuff happening, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. This trade is a big one. Now Boston is set. I don't think they're making any more moves because they didn't play all their hand. They literally played their hand with their assets. They have the Laker pick. Other than that, they played their hand. So I don't know. They didn't want Melo, but they wanted Kyrie. And Kyrie, to me, is a young version of Melo again, which is awesome, but he doesn't fit the profile of that team that they had. Even though Isaiah Thomas averaged 28 points, it wasn't a ball-dominant 28. It was a ball movement, and he just hit a lot of his shots. He just was very good. If Kyrie can come in and fill that role that way and not be ball-dominant, it'll work. It'll work. I'm just not sure if he could do it. I think Isaiah Thomas is a far better fit with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I can see him right now hitting, and he got ice in his veins as well. But also, too, I want to add, the Celtics probably made this trade as well is because they're looking at Isaiah Thomas, and Cleveland need to be on the watch, too. Isaiah Thomas is a 5'7" guard who basically, you don't see him playing for 10 more years. You don't see him playing, I don't know how many, he's still young, but what I'm saying, he's a small guy. It's a possibility he can get hurt. But I think actually with Cleveland, the way Cleveland's probably going to set him up for a lot of open shots, he's probably not going to have to do a lot of Hercules shit. He's not going to have to do a lot. LeBron got the heavy lifting. And like I said, remember, Isaiah Thomas dropped 50. He didn't have LeBron on his team. He dropped 50. Don't sleep on that little man. Don't sleep on him. He dropped 50. And points in the overtime, 3 points in crunch time, without a LeBron on his side, or being LeBron's sidekick. Now he's LeBron's sidekick. Remember that. He carried that team, the Boston Celtics. Now he's going to a team who already has an A1. And you can't tell me Isaiah's not an A1 himself. He wasn't Batman. He was Batman in Boston. So they essentially got Batman in Cleveland. I'm just saying. Can he hold a fort down? when LeBron goes to the bench, he averaged 28 points and 5.9 assists. We'll see. We'll see what happens. This season looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Frank Ntilikina locking them all the fuck up. Lock them up, Frank. That's what that's going to be our cheer. Lock them up, Frank. I mean, I'm hoping that. He's a 6'5" blanket. That's what I got to call him. He's a 6'5" blanket. 7-foot wingspan is ridiculous. Basically, from one arm to the other arm is fucking Tim Duncan. That's how long his arms are. So anyway, I just wanted to get on here and put my opinion of what I thought of this trade. Again, I think Cleveland, early analysis, I think Cleveland won the trade. Also, we don't know what's going to happen with Dwayne Wade. He can go to Cleveland, he can go to Boston, or he can go to the West Coast. One thing about Dwayne Wade, he's probably not going to be ring chasing because he has rings. So, I don't know. If he goes to Boston, I think it's a good fit. But again, they're going to lack shooting if he goes there. Like, he's not a three-point shooter. If he goes to Cleveland, he's already played with LeBron. They know how to play together. And the most important part is, if he goes to Cleveland, would he be willing to come off the bench so he can have as many shots as he wants? And if he's willing to do that, and you have Isaiah Thomas in the starting lineup with LeBron, and you bring Dwayne Wade off the bench like Ray Allen later in his career, that's going to make Cleveland something else. That might be a problem for Golden State next year. I'm just saying. So we keep an eye on where Dwayne Wade might go once he's released by Chicago. Shit, he might go to Oklahoma City. He might go to Oklahoma City. He's a fit there too. So, Dwayne Wade is a big domino in this situation, in this equation. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do. And Knicks fans, don't even worry. It's not our time right now. We just want to see KP develop. We just want to see him move to the forefront as the franchise player. This is what we want to see him do. If Carmelo stays, if Carmelo can become the number 2, the Knicks can be a decent team. If he insists on being a number 1, then the Knicks are going to suck. And even worse than that, if Melo stays and Porzingis doesn't assert himself, literally, it's time to Kobe this shit. And what I mean is, it was Kobe and Shaq, and then Kobe just said, look, man, I know you nice, but I'm the man. And that's what it's time for Porzingis to do, regardless if Melo goes or stays. Porzingis has to present himself in that manner. Because let me tell you something about alpha males. You're not taking they're not going to give you the title of the man on the team. You got to take that. Porzingis got to come in, unless he's traded. If he's not traded, you got to take that crown. You can't come in here like, I really love Melo, and, I learned a lot from Melo, and, he's a great player. He's the best player on the team, so I'll just be next in line. No, we don't need that. We don't need you to say, I love you, Melo, but now it's my time. No, we don't need you to say that either. We just need to show it on the court. Don't hide. Don't be docile. Go and get the fucking ball. You see how Melo does? He'll go up to you. Give me that fucking ball. You got to be able to do that. So I'm looking for Porzingis to assert himself when it comes to that. Other than that, I'm looking forward to seeing the young pups do whatever they can do. So I feel like this season for the Knicks, no matter what happens, is a win-win. Barring injuries. If they make the playoffs with Melo on the team or without Melo on the team, that's a win. If they suck and end up in the lottery, that's also a win. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm also looking forward to the whole NBA season. This shit gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. Anyway, this has been a special edition of a Knicks Home Court, episode number 41. I am your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. And until next time, peace.